Hello everyone, and a while back we were informed that Norsca is one of the factions in the next new DLC. Sail the Faithless will be leading the Norscans, and this is quite exciting because he's a character that a lot of people have been wanting, mostly because he's so well known in the Throne of Chaos series. Now let's be very honest here, it's about time that Norsca got DLC because they desperately need a rework. So what I'm going to talk about in this video is some hopes for Norsca overall. We do have some information, like for example, revoiced voice lines, more monster hunts, but there's a few more things really that could be done here, so let's talk about it. But before anything, a big thank you to our sponsor, Instant Gaming. Instant Gaming is a platform where you'll be able to buy games at discounted rates. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but there's a lot of titles releasing lately, and there have been a few that I've wanted to pick up, but right now gaming is getting pretty expensive, especially as I'm trying to save up for eventually destroying my wallet for Grand Cafe on the tabletop. This is why I use Instant Gaming myself. It's because you get the best rates I've seen, and that even includes during the pre-orders too. Not only that, but we do have a monthly giveaway going on. Win the game of your choice. All you have to do is click on the link in the description below, sign up, you don't even have to make a purchase, and yeah, it's any title, so if there's anything that you find interesting, you can just pick that up, should you so win. Instant Gaming is a platform that I've been using for a while now. We've been working, I think this is now the 1 year point that I've been working with them, and I hope that this relationship continues. Making a purchase with a special link in the description below also supports the channel at no extra cost to you, which I think is pretty cool. A big thank you once again for the sponsor to Instant Gaming. Now let's return to our regularly scheduled programming. So right now, not a lot has been confirmed for Norsca. We've got Sail the Faithless, he's coming with Nightmare, but it looks like Nightmare might be some sort of ability, the Familiar Noble as a hero, and also the Chimera as a monster. This is kind of following the trend lately where Creative Assembly are really not giving a lot of information. I'm not trying to complain here for the sake of complaining, but let's be honest, a little bit more would have been great, right? Now I do think that that intro with Sail kind of spawning Nightmare, that might be an indication that we will see some sort of caster lord for Norsca. It's just very terribly needed. So I do think that we're going to get some Shaman Lord type. And I do feel like 5 units is good to expect for Norsca. There's not a lot of stuff missing for them, let's be perfectly clear here, but there are some stuff that they could add in from other parts of Warhammer Fantasy, which we know they've been able to dip in just to kind of fill out the roster here and there. Now yes, there's a lot of talk about this potential leak being true or not, but I want to talk about it from my personal expectations. Even though I wasn't really hoping for Norsca to be part of this DLC, I'm hoping that it's still just going to be good overall. While I really don't want to talk too much about that potential leak, because everything is potential until we actually know if it's true or not, I do like the idea of Bertsche being a legendary hero. Not only is he an iconic character for those who used to play with the Dogs of War, but he is a Norscan, and it just kind of fits with the theme, because we could potentially see a transformation mechanic, or just properly, fully as the werebear. I feel like something like that would really add in something special to Norsca, as they do have a legendary hero right now. It's obviously the Monkey, but I don't know, man, Bjorg is just the coolest. The Bearmen also very, very fun on the tabletop. But I don't see the Bearmen being turned into units because we already have like hand weapons and shield stuff. I just don't see a lot happening. I think a big issue with Norsca is they're not really supposed to be their own race. They're very much Chaos Light at the moment. So I want to talk about the potential units here, and this is my take on what can happen. Obviously the Chimera is confirmed, and there's a few others which I feel could fit very, very well. The Cursed Etin is one of them. Essentially, they are two-headed giants, but really, with more detail, it's a cursed tribe which has heavily mutated, and most of them have fused together. This is where you get the Etins from. They are found around Norsca mostly, and they are not very intelligent, but the tribe still stands as this weird monstrosity. Some of them can be spellcasters, some of them are just very good at melee, and some of them have debuffs. This is what made them very, very interesting back on the tabletop, even though getting those models was incredibly rare. But I do feel like them being announced would be a massive hype there. Now my second choice would be Whalers. Whalers aren't really the most amazing unit. Essentially, it's just a Norscan with a bow, sometimes with a spear. They're used to just kill whales. That's what they were good for. Some people might not say that is too interesting, but this would be a bow unit for a Chaos faction. We don't generally see that. And I feel like Norsca, being who they are, could benefit from some range troopers. You know, it's embedded into their whole identity that they're hunting monsters and stuff like that. If you're not using bows, there's something pretty wrong there. So a high tier bow unit might be very useful, especially since some range would be useful when you're pushing down into the Empire, Cafe, or whatever. Now, skin bears is an interesting one. We've got skin wolves already, but if we do get Bjork Bearstruck as a legendary hero, I could imagine them also doing a bear unit as a generic unit. Why? Because that's what they did with Sylar. Sylar got introduced as a legendary hero, and they reworked the Blood Beast to be a monkey also, basically reusing the same rig, some of the animations, and there you go, bing bam boom. Right? It's a cheap thing, and I don't necessarily agree with it, but skin bears have actually existed in the lore for quite some time. There's a lot of skin animals. We just don't see a lot of them. Some of them have just been introduced with 1 or 2 sentences of lore, and then that's it. So skin wolves are fast anti-large, skin bears could be slower, maybe a little bit faster because, I don't know, the lore doesn't really go into how quick they are, but I could very much see them being very, very tanky. So you've got the skin bears holding the line, the skin wolves coming in from the flank, and there you go. It's a nice pincer attack. That's what the Famir are there for too, because they're quite tanky, but giving you some options and, I mean, just cool stuff, right? I imagine that they're going to focus a lot on monsters for some reason. Finally, I think the Basilisk would be a good choice here. It's a big single entity monster, it's good at taking out enemies, it's one of those very, very cool models from back in the day too. Again, a very rare Forge World piece, but I'm trying to go for as many original things as possible. I think one thing that was a big bugbear for me was that Omens of Destruction, at least for the greenskins, it was a lot of reskin units, which I don't like. Well, not really reskin, more retooled, I guess, is the better word, but it's still something that I feel was a little bit just bad. Uniqueness is important here. A big single entity monster is always nice. I think a lot of people do like that. I think that's going to be more the Kirstetin, but I feel like the Basilisk could also do that too. Hey, I could be wrong with my speculation here. It could be something completely different. We could end up with just random marauders that nobody asked for, but I feel like this kind of fits the theme. I wouldn't say no to like Famir low tier units and so on, but I feel like Norsca should focus quite heavily on humans and some monsters, not a separate race like a Famir. I'd like the idea of a Famir noble, don't get me wrong. Just kind of hoping that in the future we'll see some like Famir character, a named character. You never know, character packs could happen. I wish at this point. It's very, very delayed when it comes to DLCs lately, isn't it? 8 months per DLC just feels exhausting. Okay, so we're going to talk about the race in general. I'm not going to sit here about the faction effects, load effects, and skill lines because, yeah, they need to change. If they don't, then it's an automatic don't buy. Because the faction effects right now for Norsca are garbage. Most of the skill lines are pretty damn awful, not going to lie. So yeah, that needs to change quite dramatically. But if we're going to talk about the main important stuff, well, buildings, right? The just general buildings for Norsca are awful. This is the faction for Frog, by the way. The fact that Frog can't recruit trolls early on is abysmal. Monster faction not being, incentivized to get monsters. There needs to be more of a push here for, marauders being attached to like the main building, whereas everything else can kind of be brought down a little bit too. The Norscan roster isn't good. Even with a new DLC adding, 5 new units? Hopefully 5. It could end up being 4 or something. I don't see this still as a big roster. The caster also shouldn't be in some random worship building on the far right of in the economy section. It just makes no sense. You need that in the military recruitment. There needs to be just the specification there of standard military and then advanced military. It just sucks because you see this and you're instantly turned off. They feel like a Warhammer 1 faction. Well, they are a Warhammer 1 faction, but you know what I mean here. They have aged incredibly poorly. It's about time that stuff got kind of mixed around, and a proper overhaul will do just that. Attached to the whole building system, yeah, the economy, oh my god, the Norscan economy is awful. Awful. I mean, there's no other way to describe it. You need to get ports, and the port system, I mean, it's okay for most cases, but you're not really incentivized to be pushing in and forming an empire. Sure, every faction shouldn't be forming an empire, but in most cases, if you can, you will. And most of the players will do that. So I feel like it's very disappointing that right now they've got nothing like that. This is the perfect time to retool it and go in really, really hard. Not to make them an economic powerhouse, don't get me wrong, right? But, actually make them less soul-sucking. I think that's the main issue that Norsca had. They were perfectly fine in Warhammer 1 when the map was tiny, but now it's really showing that they were not tooled for a world map. The tech tree is kind of bad too, right? Look, while I like the incentivization of going to attack certain locations to get some extra bonuses and so on, the fact of the matter is it's making you go into a very far map to go to different locations. If you're playing as Norsca, it's going to be a bit of a slog to go down all the way to, say, Grand Cafe, or the Mountains of Morn, or Lustria, or whatever. That should be kind of like a mission system, and the tech tree should be focused on being a proper tech tree, rather than, oh yeah, go down to, let me see here, oh yeah, let's go down to Merigliano so we can get upkeep production. But how are you going to do that when Norsca's economy is completely garbage? So you can't send an army or two down whilst you're still trying to build up with a very limited port system. Like, it just sounds very tedious. It's not something that a lot of players can do. Those who are used to playing Total War will be fine, but if you're jumping in with Norsca as like one of your first campaigns, or even if you're just not that good at the game, you're going to suffer. You're not going to be able to get all the good bonuses. The last thing I want to talk about is devotion, because devotion is something which, oh god, it's laughable right now. It really, really is. It's one of these mechanics which I figured back in the day made a lot of sense. You know, you had something very themed and so on, but it definitely needs to be better now, especially as we do have a lot of specialist units, themed units, and so on and so forth. It needs to be done in a much larger and grander scale, either by going undivided or by picking one of the 4 Chaos Gods. And what needs to be done there is allowing you to get some bonuses for your faction regardless of what you pick, and also be able to unlock some units. Now, I don't want to see marked Chaos Warriors if you end up going undivided or divided or whatever. The idea here is Norscans should be Marauders, and the marked Marauders themselves, keep in mind that the marks make them quite strong. I would like to see those becoming regular. If you go full Slaanesh, you should actually get yourself some marked Marauders of Slaanesh. And still, they won't be your massive army. You're still going to pair them up with the Mammoths or the Skinwolves, the Famir. The idea here is they are supposed to be supplementary. Maybe when you get to the end, you will get yourself a specialist spellcaster, like a pseudo-legendary hero, pseudo-legendary lord, or access to the specific spell lore. So if you're playing with a Slaanesh playthrough, you'll get access to the lore of Slaanesh with your spellcasters. Nurgle the same, you'll get lore of Nurgle, Tzeentch, lore of Tzeentch. If you go Khorne, you'll get just general anti-magic bonuses for your characters and your units. And if you're playing Undivided, there could be something done there. I think my biggest bugbear is this. Now, some people would say the monster hunts and so on, but we do know that that's going to get changed, and I kind of want to like just leave some speculation. Maybe they just add in some more, maybe they're going to fix it up. To be honest, it's still bugged. My biggest issue has always been the devotion. I like the idea, you know, being able to get a Chaos Sorcerer of Slaanesh if you go full, or you get a Great Unclean One, an Exalted Great Unclean One if you go with Nurgle. But the issue is it's always inconsistent. You either get like a really cool hero or a cool lord, but it should be kind of leveled. I also don't like the idea of these guys getting demons. What could be done is generic spell laws for a second tier, Marauders for the first, and then maybe a demon as a one-off, so literally just one demon as a one-off. No demon units. I don't want to see demon units with Norsca. I feel like that just doesn't fit, because they worship the demons as gods. It's always going to be very difficult to do something for Norsca. I imagine that Creative Assembly must be struggling at the moment, and not in a bad way, but it is very difficult. How do you change the identity of Norsca without changing their identity, in a sense, right? They are a minor part of Chaos. There was no Norsca book back in the day. It was literally just, yeah, Chaos Warriors, Warriors of Chaos. The Norscan units were embedded in there. I'm curious to see what they do, and I'm highly optimistic. This is probably why this video isn't that long. And they've already talked about some issues that I'd like to see anyway, so here's hoping for the best. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Let's start a bit of a discussion, and I'll see you all again very, very soon, guys. Have a great day. I haven't been making a lot of content recently. I've just been kind of busy with some matters, but it's almost done soon. I can't wait. It's just, between everything kind of piling on at once, I'm tired, guys. I'm very, very tired. But we should have a few more consistent weeks for June. So, yep.